Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this narration of the web novel Humans Don't Make Good Familiars. If you're new to the series, there is a playlist listed in the description, and as always, I hope that you enjoy. Suma's POV. What's a dragon's heart? Jake asked me. Bad. Very, very bad, I told him. Dragon's heart is just that, an old dragon heart from before the falling away. Other things have moved in their absence. Wild beasts that can slaughter a Niema in a heartbeat. There is a path that is maintained and relatively safe, but all the shorter paths are much harder and fewer willing to brave the new tenants of the mountain. This is an exercise in your ability to get into and out of dangerous situations. As medics, you might need to go to places there might be hotspots of enemy activity. Your ability to survive, evade, or overcome is paramount. Perhaps even more necessary than your ability to heal, the instructor explained. At the top of the mountain, there have been placed 4 silver bands on poles. Each team will go up the mountain and retrieve a band and return. This is like some Hunger Games stuff, Jakes whispered to himself, shocking 2 of the nearby Niema, who hadn't realized he could talk. The teams are as follows. Recruits 1 to 2 and Lorik are Team 1. Recruits 3 to 5 are Team 2. Von Pack Suma and Recruits 6 are Team 3. Toman and Recruits 7 to 8 are Team 4. You will have 10 minutes to find your groups and discuss strategies. When you hear the bell, leave camp and begin your trek up the mountain, the instructor finished. I don't think I'll ever get used to people not having names, Jake said, over the private connection. So, how are we supposed to find Recruit 6 and the Von Pack guy? I flapped my wings and flew up to perch on his shoulder. There are tags on our feet, I said, and lifted one of my legs to show him. Mine has my name, but unnamed Miyama, I will have numbers based on the order of arrival to camp. Jake nodded his head that he understood and examined the tags. I looked around and saw several Niema already looking for their teams. Some were asking for tag numbers. Others were bending down to examine the tags. I think I have a faster solution, Jake said, and then cupped his hands around his mouth. This is Suma's group. If you are on Team 3, come over here, I shouted, nearly causing me to lose my balance and fall off my perch. I let out an involuntary squawk as I regained my balance. That's one way to do it, I mumbled, embarrassed as every single Niema present turned and looked at us in shock. But I can't foul its effectiveness. Within minutes, every member of Team 3 was accounted for, perched on the saddles of their respective familiars. I take it that means you're Suma. A Niema with the number 6 on her leg and riding on the back of a Zentorok's hound said. I am, I answered. I didn't realize it could talk, one of the Niema, whose tag read Von Pack, said. He was perched on a salamander. Jake raised one of his eyebrows, as they are called, and said, It has a name, Jake. I heard Lady Suma summon you earlier. She said Sentinel, number 6 pointed out. You can just call me Suma, I told him. Yes, my summon name is Sentinel, but my actual name is Jake, Jake explained. The other 2 exchanged looks. It was quite unusual for any familiars to not use the name given to them by their summoners. So you don't have a name? Jake asked at the numbered Niema. Yes, unlike Suma and Von Pack, I'm not from a wealthy noble family, so my parents didn't have the manner needed to name me. Number 6 explained. I'm not from a noble family. It was Jake who named me, I explained. They both seemed to be caught off guard at that. What? Is that even legal? Von Pack asked, shocked. The Grand Duke had no complaints about it, Jake told him. Von Pack scoffed. Of course he didn't. He wasn't surprised at his reaction. Von Pack was a noble, and most nobles disapprove of the Grand Duke. Dun! 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 The bell, number 6 said. All recruits leave camp now and begin your journey. End of story. Chapter 54. Suma's point of view. The bell, number 6 said. All recruits leave the camp now and begin your journey, the instructor yelled. That didn't feel like 10 minutes, I heard one of the recruits grumble. I heard from a friend that they did the same thing to him and his group last year, someone said to her. Why aren't we flying up the mountain and just summoning our familiars when we need them? Von Pack complained. The battlefield is a dangerous place, Jake said, and it's easy to see any enemy flying through the sky. That's why they want us to train close to the ground, so that we can get used to traveling this way. It conceals our movements and protects our group. Honestly, I hadn't thought of it like that. I had just assumed that it was training and working with our familiars. If someone is foolish enough to get themselves and their team captured by the enemy, then they deserve what they get, One Pack scoffed. This guy really is getting on my nerves, Jake said over our private link. We need to start the climb, Six said. We don't want to be left behind. At first, every recruit and team took the same trail, but as more paths presented themselves, each team took advantage of the ones that suited their familiars best. Some went up rock mountainsides, others took the trees and leapt from branch to branch, while our team was better suited to walking up dirt for as long as we could. We could have been there by now if we could fly, Von Pack complained. He then gave his familiar several pecks on the head. Can't you go any faster, you stupid beast? The creature didn't seem to notice much, though. Jake stayed quiet, but stared daggers through Von Pack. I also noticed him clenching his fist hard, enough that blood started to drip from his fingers. Without saying a word, I held his hand, but he didn't stop glaring at the annoying noble. You shouldn't treat your familiars like that, Six scolded One Pack. The way I treat my familiars is of no concern to a low-born like you, Von Pack shot back. I could almost see Jake's thoughts written on his face. He wanted to make Von Pack stop, but he knew that if he did, a fight might break out. For now, it was better to put up with him. I didn't, however, expect him to do what he did next. Six, would you like a name? Jake asked with a sadistic grin on his face. Well, of course, what Niema wouldn't want a name, why do you ask? She wondered, confused. If you had a name, what do you imagine it would be like? He asked. I imagine having a name would be wonderful, she told him. No, sorry, I meant, what do you imagine the name would be like? He clarified. The name itself, she thought for a moment. I don't know, really. I would want to be something that sounds nice, maybe easy to say. But I would also want it to sound regal and proud, if I could, she told him. So, like the name Von Pack, Von Pack boasted proudly, but we all ignored him. These days I've been thinking about names, what they mean, how they affect your sense of self, Jake said. So, you say you want a name that sounds nice, but is also proud. Do you have any ideas on what it might sound like? This is a foolish conversation. We should be focusing on climbing the mountain, not discussing a low-born like her getting a name, Von Pack huffed. The group fell silent. I looked down at Jake's hand, expecting to have to heal it again, but instead I saw Jake smiling. It was a knowing smile, a planning smile. It almost frightened me. Jake, we will go to jail if you kill him, I warned him privately. Killing him would be a waste and a crime. No, I have a better idea, Jake said. You can't just go around naming everyone you meet, you know, I told him after realizing his plan. He lost his smile and looked up at me. Why not? Because, I said, drawing a blank. I honestly couldn't think of a good reason. Jake had the mana reserves for it, and the stamina. He had already named me and Seal with no issues. Jake, naming one Niema won't make a difference. Nobles will still act like this, even if you named every commoner alive. It's just how it is, just how they are. Maybe not, but I can severely annoy this particular noble, Jake said, chuckling. He then began speaking aloud again. How does the name Vindicta sound? For what? One Pack asked, sounding irritated and tired for talking. I was talking to Six, he stated flatly. How does it sound as a name? It sounds like a fine name. Any Niema would be lucky to have it, she said. Great, Jake announced proudly. Then it's yours. Jake was now smiling almost from ear to ear. As soon as he said that, all of us, familiars included, came to a halt. But? Six asked, confused, or perhaps she didn't think that he was serious. Vindicta, I'll give it to you as a name if you want it, Jake explained, still smiling. One Pack looked horrified. No, I forbid it. A familiar can't name a lowborn like her, One Pack protested. Well, it's a good thing it's not up to you, huh, Jake said, beaming. You... what? Six said in disbelief. Do you accept the name Vindicta, or do you prefer another name? Feel free to answer honestly. I'll give you a name, but if you'd prefer another, I could think of one. You're the one who asked to use it, after all, so you should like it, Jake offered. Are you serious? Yes, Jake said. While this was happening, Von Pack was fuming with a quiet rage. He seemed to almost be overflowing with anger. He even began to lose control of his mana for a moment and began the first stages of displaying. I accept, the now newly christened Vindicta answered. End of chapter. The algorithm reckons you should be watching this video next, and I recommend that you should be always watching my video. So, click with energy! And yes, clicking that does help the channel. Thank you very much. I just want to quickly thank the T5 channel members and patrons. Alithia, Barky, Beautycure, Meridian117, Cam Maxwell, Casper Arnholz, Albard and Gusta, Savage Patch Papa,